Hello and welcome to this quick and fun workshop for these Worm Dol Babies. These babies are easy to make and will be finished before you know it. So let's start. For this quick workshop you need a small circular knitting machine. You can use whatever small knitting machine you have. For the rest you need yarn and stuffing, and you can use a rattle. And of course your yarn needle, a pair of scissors. I will draw the pattern for you. It is a real simple pattern. We have to knit a tube, and you start with casting on in the head color. I also write it down in Dutch. And you end with the head color and cast off with the head color. You knit 20 rows in head color for the start. And you knit 20 rows before casting off in the color of the head. And the piece in between, the body part, you can knit as many rows as you want. That doesn't matter, as long as you knit the head 20 rows. You also have to knit 80 rows and casting on and off in the working yarn for the head. So casting on and off with the working yarn, knitting about 80 rows. And yeah, about the body part, for this one I knitted 150 rows. For this one I knitted 100 rows, 75 rows for this one, and 80 for the head. And for the yellow one I knitted 60 rows and 80 rows for the head. So the head is longer than the body part. But I will demonstrate that everything is possible. So 80 rows for every head, 20 rows for every head, and the body part you do whatever you like. Let's continue. Closing the tubes. It's exactly the same as closing for heads. Just pull the end, and I like to secure my yarn by making a half knot around my needle, and then I'm pulling my needle through the loops, and now my yarn is secured. You do that with both sides, for the body part and for the head part. When you have done that, you put one half in the other half, and you stick your needle through the small hole of the point you just closed, through the hole on the other side, so that both sides come together. And then you just make sure that it's nice and neat, and you then knot those two tails firmly together. When they are secured, you just cut that off a little bit for about, I don't know, 10 centimeters. And then you put it inside out, and your small head for your doll is finished. For the doll you do exactly the same. So you are going to close both ends. Make sure that they are nice and neat lined up. And then the next step is to stuff the dolls. I'm going to use my IKEA head pillow polyester filling. And I make it in real small pieces, so it's more fluffy. And I'm going to put it into the body. And I'm going to stuff the body. Don't forget to put in your rattle if you want to use one. And continue stuffing. Stuff them not too firm, but make them just in the form of a sausage. And stuff them until the stuffing is going to come out by itself when you model your sausage. When finished, we have to close the dolls, and that's also really easy. We take a piece of yarn, we look at the edge of our work and we stick our needle in the vertical first bar you pick out. Skip one, stick the needle under the next one, skip one, and you lace your yarn all the way around the edge of your tube. And when you're all the way around, you just simply knot the two tails firm together. The doll will close, and you simply make a few knots. Make sure the hole keeps closed. And then you take all your yarn ends, stick them into your needle, stick it to the inside, somewhere where your yarn comes together, and let it come out somewhere else. Pull through. And cut your yarn. And we're up for the next step. In our next step, we are going to make the neck. I'm taking a piece of yarn that's in the color of my head, and I'm trying to find the back stitches. And I'm going to lace the yarn around the first row in the skin color by picking up half stitches and skipping half stitches all the way around. And when you're all the way around, you're also making a knot in the two ends, knot them together and pull firm, so you will create the neck. When you're okay with the neck, just simply knot those tails another time. It's a bit tricky, but you can do it. Take your yarn ends and put them into your needle and stick the needle into the head and let it come out somewhere else. Pull through the yarn and cut off those ends. I'm going to do that with my second one also. And now I'm going to split the body part into pieces. I like to make them one smaller and one bigger. You can also make them one bigger and one smaller. It's your choice. So I decide where I want to split them, and I'm going to do exactly the same as that we did with the neck. I'm going to lace a piece of yarn in the body color somewhere around the body, and do that all the way around. And when you're all the way around, you simply knot those tails together and pull firm, so the body will be splitted into parts. Check if you're okay with the splitted parts, and then you just knot them and put the tails into your yarn needle and stick them to the inside like we do all the time. Before continuing with attaching the head, I'm going to demonstrate how I will make this one. I'm going to sew through the middle. I take my yarn in the color of the body. I'm going to leave the tails on the short side and the loop on the other side, and I'm going to find the track I want to use. So I choose this one, and I'm going to count 11 stitches or tracks to find the opposite track on the opposite side. And I stick a needle in for coordination. And now I'm going to join the front and the back by just sticking my yarn needle with the yarn through the stitches on both sides. I want to use the same track as where my helping needle is, and I pull through the yarn. I leave a long piece hanging, and then I'm going to stick into the next stitch of that same track. I keep the needle for orientation. And I'm going to push my yarn needle back to the front or the back, whatever. In another stitch, I let it come out, and then I lay my loop around the needle. So when I pull through and pull hard, the yarn is connected and secured. And then I continue simply by stitching through and through in the same track. Take your time to do this. Personally, I like the worm dolls more than these dolls because this needs more effort. And you finish off like you do it all the time. And stick your yarn through the doll and cut your yarn. And then we're finished and ready for the last step, attaching the heads to the heads. Take a doll and the head and put the head on the head. And arrange it until you think you like it. There are no rules. Then you are going to sew them on the head. You can do that whatever way you like it. I will demonstrate how I do it, but you can do it really the way you want to do it. No rules. I stick some needles through the two pieces to hold them. And then I'm going to define the point I want to start. I stick my needle through all layers from one stitch to the next stitch. And then I'm going to, sew it to the head. I don't do that on the edge, but I do that a finger length higher. And you go all the way around doing this. When you're finished, you make sure that both tails come out in the same little hole. And then you simply knot those two ends together. I make a few knots. I stick those two ends into my needle and stick it through the head to another side. Let it come out and cut those ends. And then our worm dolls are finished. There are no rules. Make them as long as you like. Make a whole couple. They're really fun. And join my channel and give me a thumb up if you like my workshops. See you next time. Bye bye.